Let's go ahead. We'll get into our top 5 or / most hated locations. Jumping in here real quick, just to let you know, my number 5 was actually Evan's number 4, so we'll talk about that here in a second. Let's hear your number 5 then.
Sokovia.
Sokovia. Okay, all right. Explain to me why you do not like Sokovia.
Well, Sokovia, discard a card from each player's hand. And it's random, but sometimes it doesn't seem so random. It's always the card I'm getting ready to play or counting on. And I don't know, Yondu can, when your opponent plays Yondu, that can take something out of your arsenal. I don't know, Sokovia just always seems to hurt a little more. Maybe it's because it was in your hand and you're looking right at it, whereas you didn't know it was coming, and Yondu gets it, and you're like, oh, well, okay, I didn't really have that one anyway. But Sokovia gets my goat.
This happened to me yesterday. Like, I needed to play this card. I wish I could remember which one it was. It was probably Quake. And I was like, okay, I'm laying Quake out here, and I'm going to really mess this game up. And sure enough, Sokovia pops up, and what does Sokovia take? It's cool that, what you watch happen is kind of similar to kind of what Sokovia does in the movies.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Hadn't really thought about that. But yeah, I don't think that was on my original list. I had actually, I think I made a list like this even before we settled on this topic. And I don't think Sokovia was on my list, but Sokovia done me wrong a few times in the last week, and it made its way on there.
It made its way up. Sokovia, by the way, first appearance, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, March 26, 2014. Let me go.
Has it been in the comics?
Sokovia,
probably has, but I bet it comes after the movie.
It does have an Earth 616 reality designation.
I'm looking online. I'm mainly seeing that it debuted in the movies.
All right. Well, there you go. Sokovia. I'm going to let you go first with number 4.
It's Subterranea.
Subterranea. Okay. So I get to talk about. All right. If there's anything that I hate more, when I was moving up the ranks with Shulkanaut, it's my She-Hulk and Infinite deck. As soon as Subterranea shows up and shuffles what? 5? Is it 5 rocks?
5 rocks.
5 rocks into my deck. Now I have absolutely very little chance that I'm going to draw what I want to draw on these next few turns. Like I need to have She-Hulk and I need to have Infinite show up at some point between turn 3 and turn 6. And I'm hoping to get Magic in there as well. But when the rocks show up, it just throws that completely out. And there was a point where I think I would play if Subterranean showed up, I'm withdrawing. If I played somebody that had Korg or Rock Slide in their deck, I'm withdrawing. I was just like, I'm retreating. I'm done. Subterranea made number 5 on my list. Number 4 on your list, Tom.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it was because I had hit a few Subterraneans. It's funny, and I don't know the probabilities of it, but it seems like when you get Subterranea, you either hardly see the rocks or you only see the rocks.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I know I had one where I had at least three rocks in my hand, and I ended up retreating. I'm like, I can't do anything with this. There's ways to make lemonade out of those lemons, though. If you got Darkhawk, suddenly your opponent's deck just increased, and Patriot, Blue Marvel, the Kazar, they can make the rocks useful.
I'm waiting to get that rock variant though.
There's a rock variant?
No, there's no rock variant.
Okay. I was going to say you probably didn't spring for the rock set where you could have it as an avatar.
I did not.
Okay.
I hate the rocks. Subterranea, by the way, first appeared Marvel Mystery Comics number 10, June of 1940.
Oh. And I think that's where one of the places the Mole Man hangs out, right?
That is correct. Created by Paul Gustafson and Ray Gill.
Paulie G?
Paulie G. That's correct. That's what all his friends called him. Paulie G back in the 40s. All right, my number 4. My number 4 most hated. Boy, I know this is probably going to be up on your list. And this was up there for me. And then it kind of dropped down because I have these other 2 that just really drive me nuts. Number 4 for me is Krakoa.
Did not make my list.
I'm very surprised. Okay. So Krakoa, as we have discussed, turn 5, Krakoa takes over your hand and plays for you. Not a fan especially on turn 5 when I'm trying to set up a combo or I'm trying to set up something that's supposed to happen on turn 6, because I absolutely need this turn 5. I'd like to play Captain Marvel, please, on turn 5. Nope. Krakoa's like, nah, we are not going to be doing that today. How's Nightcrawler and that other 3-cost card you have in your hand? We'll put that out there on turn 5. Not my favorite. I did at one time, I thought Krakoa was going to be a neat addition to this, and now it just becomes more aggravating. Don't encounter it too often lately. When it was the featured location, boy, did it drive me nuts. But they've tended to make that more of a rare occurrence that you're going to run into Krakoa, probably because they know everybody hates it.
You know, I think I got a lot of my anger on Krakoa out on the last episodes.
Enough to make it so that it's not on the list, which is...
Well, and the thing is, as frustrating as Krakoa can be, it's only one turn.
Right.
We didn't drop the first appearance of Krakoa.
Oh, yeah. Let me...
that would have been Giant Size X-Men #1, right?
You are correct. Giant Size X-Men #1 from 1975. All right, so that's our number 4, man. I'm starting with Dream Dimension, number 3.
Oh, yes.
Dream Dimension.
That was on my list, but it actually got bumped out.
I see it so much, and the ones that aggravate you need to be less common. What happens here is turn 5, all your cards cost 1 extra. So again, Krakoa, like I was saying earlier, drives me insane because it ruins my turn 5 combo that I plan on laying something out and then playing on turn 6. Dream Dimension does the exact same thing, because every 5-cost card now costs 6, and I'm not going to be able to lay it out.
But at least Dream Dimension just says you can't do what you were planning to do. Krakoa says you could totally do what you were planning to do, but I'm going to stick my finger in this electrical socket.
All right, what is your number 3? Hold off on that. Hold off. I've got it on my list. It's definitely higher.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
All right. So then what do you have for number 2?
Well, in my opinion, Jesse, the Mindscape is a load of number 2.
Oh, man, the Mindscape.
Although, it did just win me the last hand in our match we played earlier.
I was going to say, you took my one 6-cost card in that deck, which was Magneto, because Mindscape switched hands with us.
Hey, do you want some cheese with that wine, Jesse?
Serve it up. About sick of it.
No, you talk about having plans, and I'm like, oh, okay, good. I've got Wong here, about to play Dr. Doom on him, and oh no, I don't get Dr. Doom.
Right.
I get somebody else's cards that they couldn't play it or didn't want to play. It throws you off. It doesn't always ruin your game, but I don't know. It irritates the fire out of me. Maybe if they get a Sleepwalker card, my favorite denizen of the Mindscape, I might think differently. But
imagine if they actually worked that card into where when the Mindscape showed up, like you had a great advantage. Like somehow that either counteracted it or did something special. Oh, like Sleepwalker will not remove from your hand, so Sokovia couldn't touch it.
That
Mindscape couldn't touch it.
That would be cool.
Yeah. First appearance of Mindscape. Would you like to take a guess?
That wouldn't be Sleepwalker #1, would it?
Sleepwalker #3, June of 1991. Oh. Yes.
Oh, that's the one where they're surrounded by all the various and sundry superheroes looking pretty angry.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that would be good, because they do a pretty good job sometimes making locations and characters match up.
Right.
So that would be pretty cool. If the first thing I thought of was something like a Quinjet, where cards that didn't start in your hand, you get a bonus with them. So all those cards that switched over to you. Right. So that would be pretty interesting. But yeah, you tie in Sleepwalker, and I might take the Mindscape off my list.
All right, so that was your number 2.
Yeah. What's your number 2, Jesse?
My number 2 is Weird World.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you could probably figure out like a pattern here, because a lot of times I have a plan, and anything that goes in there and screws up my plan is going to make this list. Whatever you had come into this game with is no longer yours, except for what's in your hand, and you are now going to be drawing from your opponent's deck for the rest of the game. So you better hope that what they had in their hand is crap, and what you're going to be drawing from their deck is actually decent, and will work with your cards in some way that you already have. Man, there had been times where I'm playing something, and then all of a sudden we switch decks, and they have a destruction deck. That's going to do me no good unless with the 3 cards that I already have in my hand, or whatever cards I have in my hand. I say 3. I mean, I could have 4 at that point by the time we get to turn 3, 5, or 6, whatever. Although, if I'm able to get that Quinjet out there, all those cards that person had are now going to cost me 1 less, but that's a rare situation. So Weird World, first appearance, Marvel Super Action #1, November 1975.
And then it made a comeback in Secret Wars.
Yes, it did. I have the Weird World books. Was it like 2? There was like a small series, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 issues maybe, but then it showed up some more. What was it in? I read something where they were in Weird World, and then the Champions headed over to Weird World. So once they revived it in Secret Wars, it started getting used again. I thought about Weird World on there, or District X, which kind of does the same thing, only randomly. But I got to thinking, I actually kind of like those.
I do not. I can't see how you could like Weird World. It's just so tough.
Well, because, especially if you're in a situation where you've got a deck that just isn't working against somebody else's deck. Like if you're just hamstrung from the start, then suddenly it's all thrown out, and you're having to make do with the stuff as it comes up. You're having to strategize on the fly. Let's say somebody has the most perfect deck. Well, suddenly they can't use it now, and maybe it's split up between those. So it just adds a neat element. It makes the game a little more unpredictable.
Okay, all right.
But unlike some locations, you're still in control of what happens.
That's true.
There's always an initial brush of frustration when those come up, but like I said, I still have a say in the outcome.
So speaking of that, let me do my #1 because it was your #3.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Ego. Ego, the living butthole.
I thought Ego was such a cool idea at first. Yeah. You go ahead and tell me your reasoning, and then
I don't understand how it could be much different from yours. As soon as he shows up, he takes control. And as a matter of fact, they think it's so funny. There is a title out there that says Ego Take the Wheel.
Isn't there another one that says ego equals snap?
Yes. And whoever that is, that's funny. If somebody has that as a title, they're just there's no way I believe anything that they would ever say to me in the first place.
or they snap on everything anyway.
Right.
There's no boomer snapping with that.
No, it's immediate snap. Sure. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, creators of Ego, first showed up. Care to guess which title?
Thor.
Very good. Thor #132 from June of 1966. Essentially, you are no longer part of the game, just at the mercy of the AI playing your cards.
I think calling it an AI gives it too much credit.
You just cannot predict what
it's artificial, but I'm not sure how intelligent it is.
Right. You can't predict what's going to happen. You have no idea. There's no rhyme or reason what's being played. And they made it's definitely a rare occasion. I probably had it once this past month. Ego popped up. So that's good.
I wish it was that infrequent. If they make Ego a hot location again, I think the deck to use would have to include Scarlet Witch, Rhino, Magic, and Storm.
That's a good
Whatever
point.
you can to destroy that location.
Oh, it's
because I don't think Ego's clever enough to preserve himself.
You're done playing at that point. You are done playing. You can either retreat or just watch everything unfold. You're done.
The only reason I don't retreat when Ego comes up is that I know he's not playing favorites. He's just flailing around with both decks. So there's a chance I could still win. But I hate that it makes me press in turn. It's almost as like it's saying, are you satisfied with this play? No, I'm not. Absolutely not. But I know if I wait there, I'm just going to have to look at it longer, and it's still going to happen.
You've got one choice here. You can continue with the torture, or you can leave. Which one would you like? In turn, continue.
I'm starting to rethink my list because I didn't even have Ego on it at one point because I was like, oh, you know what? It just comes up occasionally, and it's a neat aspect of the game. It's kind of unexpected. And then I got a couple of egos, and I'm like, no, it needs to be on here.
Yes.
So what I did, Jesse, is I went back through our chat and Messenger, and I searched for the word ego.
Okay.
And I'd like to share some historical observations.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
November 3rd, so shortly after the game debuted,
right.
I said to you, there's a location where Ego plays the cards. I am not pleased with his strategy. Then that same day, I got a message from you, and you said, so Ego showed up today. I lost bad. A little over 2 weeks later, I said, I don't like to brag, but I'm a better Snap player than Ego.
I remember this.
Let's see. Then there was... I didn't complain about Ego to you for almost a month and a half.
Okay.
Then I said, looks like Deadpool was the only one Ego knew how to play. He missed Nova and Bucky and played the leader, and playing the leader there did nothing.
No.
Yeah. Oh, no, that was on one of yours. You sent me a video of Ego playing, and I was like, wow, that's impressive. Okay, yeah, here's one. Wave made everybody cost 4. So with Blue Marvel, Doctor Doom, and Abomination on the table, Ego picked Rogue with no card to steal an ability from.
Jeez.
February 7th. My cat could outplay Ego.
Oh, man.
February 15th. Sure, Ego. Leave Ultron on the bench. So yeah, we had Ego, and I had was losing. Yeah, let's see. I'm not sure what turn this was. Oh yeah, it was the final turn, and Ego had me set up with Patriot, Blue Marvel, and Misty Knight on one, and Sunspot, Kazar, and Iron Man on another, with Ultron, who could have filled up Morag where no one had played any cards and won it for me, just sitting there. Now, March 29th. I don't think Krakoa is any better than Ego.
Here we go, Krakoa.
And then April 11th, great moments in Ego. Puts Cloak and Dagger at the same location at the same time, ensuring Dagger's power can't be used. And then when the opponent's wave puts everybody's cost to 4, Ego decides one cost M'Baku is the play over Dr. Doom or Arnim Zola.
Oh, wow.
And he could have played Dr. Doom on Camartage. So
nope.
Ego decided, I'm going to spend one energy and get 2 power instead of spending all 6 and 25.
I cannot believe that it made a decision to play a 1-cost card. Oh, this was turn 6?
That's what it looks like. I mean, it's almost like it's just plucking stuff out randomly, which completely defeats the purpose of an entity taking over and doing it.
Right.
And maybe it's just because Ego makes so many bad plays. I still say there are times when Krakoa picks the objectively worst possible play.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. Maybe I should have had Ego higher. But yeah, I was just like, wonder what messages I've sent Jesse about Ego.
I love it. Man, that's great. That is a snapshot, too, because we've complained so much.
Snapshot. So my number one, because somehow this location, even after all that I said about Ego, evokes a more visceral reaction in me, and I can't fully explain the logic, but the location that frustrates me the most in Snap, the Peak.
The Peak. You've mentioned this before.
The Sword space station in the comics, but what it does is it reverses. It's basically Mr. Negative in location form. It switches your energy and your power.
Right.
Which, I mean, yeah, sometimes one of my Mr. Negative decks, I like to use Jane Foster in there because suddenly I've got a lot of 0-cost cards and she can draw them all. But if you play Mr. Negative before Jane Foster's in your hand, then she's pretty, she's not too great. But you're building that deck. I was playing today, and the Peak came up on turn 2, and I hadn't played anything on turn 1. So She-Hulk, even though I couldn't play her yet, was sitting at 5 cost, 9 power. Suddenly she was 6 cost, 4 power. No useful ability. I mean, nope. 6 cost, 5 power. Sorry, then she got Scorpion. So, clearly I've complained more about Ego, but when Ego comes up, I'm just like, oh, this. And maybe you can laugh at it a little, but the Peak is just like, yep, these cards in your hand are not necessarily ruined, but, if you got a high power card in your hand, suddenly it's next to useless.
Yeah, it becomes it just takes up space at that point. I mean, the only thing that could possibly save it is the ability if it has one. But the only time really your high powered cards are usually not going to have the greatest ability, like the Hulk doesn't have any ability. But I mean, what I'm sitting here thinking of is like Magneto. Now at that point, the only thing you can hope for is like you're going to move some cards to 6/6 at that point, but you're just hoping like, okay, I can move some cards, but it isn't going to do me much good now that I have half my power gone.
Yeah, you can still do something with them. And, sometimes like, if you got Iron Man in your hand, well, suddenly that's pretty good. But,
right.
Those are the exception, not the rule. Most cards are even or you have less cost and more power. Yeah, so I don't know. And I mean, maybe I just didn't want to give Ego the satisfaction of putting him number one. I don't know, because I've described a lot more problems with Ego, but the peak frustrates me more than any location in Snap.
I understand your frustration. We had a little bit of overlap on this list. Just real quick, the Peak's first appearance in Marvel Comics was a minor appearance in this. That's correct. Volume 3, number 10, and a full appearance in Volume 3, number 13 of Astonishing X-Men. So very good.
It's been playing kind of a role in the new X-Men stuff lately.
We did it. Me and you have been talking for quite a while, and we talked some Marvel Snap tonight. We've hit our top 5 worst locations. We took a look at what happened during Animals Assemble. We had a battle right here live. It was Avengers versus X-Men. And, of course, we took a look at what's upcoming here in the Guardians' Greatest Hits.
Hey, Jesse, sorry to cut you off, but you forgot one detail. Who won that battle?
The Avengers. And Evan Bevins. Magneto won you that battle is what happened. Magneto won that last one. Let's just put it that way.
Drove him to my side, Jesse.
Actually, I don't know if he won that. He tied it. He was played in the right spot. That was what
I count ties that lead to victories in my ongoing M'Baku victory tally. So I think I'm up to at least 6.
Nice. All right, man. Let's get out of here. What is it that you do, and where can people find you on the internet?
Well, I write, and the best place to find me if you want to read about this sort of thing is *51.blogspot.com. We're recording this, as we said, on Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And I just issued a post entitled The Real Star Wars, as in the real Star Wars were the friends we made along the way. And that's not sarcastic, Jesse. I'm going to be resuming soon my read-through of Just Imagine Stan Lee creating the DC Universe, but I've also started another occasional series called Free Comic Fridays, where I start reading all those Free Comic Book Day issues I've hoarded over the years. Looked through the Road to Ranger Slayer. They're Power Rangers comics. They're serious, and heaven help me, they're pretty good.
Oh, wow.
Did not see that coming. By the time this gets out, I'll have the Guardians of the Galaxy Free Comic Book Day issue from a few years ago up, as Free Comic Book Day corresponds with the release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Fantastic.
So, I may be putting the finishing touches on that after we disconnect.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Or I might play Snap and fall asleep mid-game. I don't know. you just never know what kind of excitement I'm going to get into.
We'll have to throw up another poll there as well. What our next battle's going to be. We need to come up with something good. See what the people have to say.
I got at least one idea.
Okay, very good. Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, check out the Source Material Comics podcast feed. It's right here. You're listening to it. We have all sorts of great shows on here. The Unspoken Issues podcast. Evan has joined me on there quite a few times where we talk 90s comics. Actually, one will be releasing here next Monday where Evan said he wanted to listen because he wants to learn what in the world happened in JLA Rock of Ages.
I've read it at least 3 times, Jesse. I'm hoping somebody can walk me through it. What? All I know is that Green Arrow and the Atom are awesome.
Oh, boy. And Darkseid is. Check that out. That just got finished. I finished that up there yesterday, so it is uploaded and ready to rock and roll on Monday. Unspoken Issues, our discussion about JLA Rock of Ages. And the Source Material Comics podcast will be taking a look at 3 comics based on metal bands. And Mark and I are jumping into that new trilogy here pretty soon. Two things we absolutely, both of us love. Mark and I both love comic books, and we both love metal. And wow, do we get some crazy, crazy stuff when we talk Iron Man Legacy of the Beast, Slayer's Repentless, which is probably one of the most violent and gory comics that I've read in a while. And then Blar Orgasmageddon. That's right. You can check that out. It's good stuff. All right, so we're out of here. That's Evan Bevins. I'm Jesse Starcher. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll talk to you on our next Snap Material in about a month. Have a good one. Bye-bye.